And here we are in my latest Decan exploration with the Six of Pentacles. And this is the Lord of Material Success and runs from the 1st of May to around the 10th of May. So just finished. And this is Moon in Taurus. So the cards that I chose for the astrology part are from Lily Ashwell's Heavenly Bodies astrology deck, because it's dreamy and it's beautiful, and we have the High Priestess, so I thought go nice. And here we go. So we have Taurus for the Hierophant, which is this beautiful card here, and it says trust, patience and sensuality, and we have a rose. And then for our High Priestess we have the Moon, and it's a very ethereal looking card, isn't it? Beautiful. And it says satisfy emotional needs, nurture self and others. So what can the astrology tell us about the cards? Well, the Moon tells us that life is full of phases, that nothing is stable, nothing stays the same. Everything is constantly changing, you know, like the cycles of the Moon are always changing. And Taurus is steady, it's reliable. I think I spoke quite a bit about the Hierophant and Taurus energy in the last Decan video, and how the Hierophant and the church is very aligned to charity, actually, you know, food banks and all. So I did talk about that in the last Decan video with the Five of Pentacles. So here we have charity being doled out, as appears in the Rider-Waite Smith card. So two people in need, and the merchant, or the figure in the guise of a merchant, as Arthur Edward Waite states. So is he a merchant? It says in the guise of a merchant. It's very interesting blue and white robe he's got on underneath here, which is very similar to the blue and white of High Priestess, I did notice. And then we see the blue and the yellow here in the beggars are also echoed here in the High Priestess, which I thought was really interesting. And of course the echoes of the two pillars here between the Hierophant and the High Priestess. And I've probably gone a little bit off track there, but I just thought I'd highlight the yellows, you know, the yellows and the blues that we see. And then we've got the red here of the Hierophant. So does that mean, just a thought, I haven't read this anywhere, but does that mean that this merchant, or this figure in the guise of a merchant, is actually a high priest, the Hierophant with the red, and the High Priestess, the blue and white? And are these also aspects, you know? Are these two figures that have been brought into the church to find the way, because they are spiritually poor? The crystals assigned to the cards here also make very interesting thoughts for me. The High Priestess I've talked about before with Labradorite. And I think the interesting thing about Labradorite in association with our High Priestess is what we see and what we don't see. On the Thoth card we can see that the High Priestess here is veiled. She's holding a veil. And if we look at our Labradorite, we can see flashes, but only at certain angles. When we actually turn the stone, they can disappear and it can look quite ordinary. But then turn it in the right light and the magic appears. And I think this is true of the High Priestess as well. If we go within and not look at surface value, then that's when the magic happens. Labradorite is what's called a feldspar mineral. I'll just keep turning it while I'm talking because it is absolutely beautiful. And it's got what's called the Schiller effect, S-C-H-I-L-L-E-R. And this is this iridescent optical effect that you can see there when you view it at different angles, and that's when light diffracts off these closely spaced layers of calcium and sodium rich feldspar. So yeah, that's the point I wanted to make, really, is the fact that if we look at things on surface value, we don't always see the beauty that's hidden underneath. And I think that is very, very apt with High Priestess and the dark side of the moon and the aspects of the moon. And I don't know about anybody else, but I just have felt so out of sorts since the last lunar eclipse. It's really, really affected me. And here we've got Sodalite for the Hierophant, and a nice stability energy here, which I've really, really appreciated. Yeah, since that lunar eclipse. Sodalite is a crystal that one of the first crystals I ever owned, and it does stabilise. It's beautiful, very calming energy. There we go, a really calming energy we get from this. And then for card itself, we have gold, well, they say yellow topaz, which I haven't got. I've got this gold topaz, which I think they mean. I think it's the same thing. Isn't that beautiful? It's like Lucasade. I always think it's like Lucasade in a crystal. It's beautiful. Okay. So we'll get back onto those a little bit later. But for now, let's have a look at my thoughts on these cards. Okay. So, like I say, with the High Priestess and the veil that keeps us from seeing the full picture, the Hierophant, on the other hand, is our teacher, and he wants to instruct us in ways of spirit, according to tradition and religion. And the two here are almost opposites, aren't they? So our priestess, she withholds, and our Hierophant here reveals. But what do they reveal and what do they hide? And how do they decide just how much to reveal, just how much to withhold? And I think that's where the scales actually come in, because this figure in the guise of a merchant is only giving so much. It's a balance, it's a judgment call. And those two fingers there, going back to that Hierophant, look at the shape in those fingers there. Do you see it? And look at the shape in the Hierophant's hand. This is another thing that makes me feel, or another little detail that makes me feel, this is the Hierophant and the High Priestess in this card. And we've also got Justice here. So going back to what I was going to say, I get a little bit sidetracked because I have all these ideas that go through my head, but anyway, bear with me. The usual interpretation here is of a helping hand. Yes, it looks like we have two beggars and they are being judged whether or not they're worthy of a handout. And often, because it's a coins card, it will seem that handout is monetary. But what if it isn't? What if our figure here isn't actually giving out coins as in money, but something else? So, two things. One, what if it's beans? What if this is seeds? There's an old saying, isn't there? Give a man a fish and you'll feed him for a day. Teach him how to fish and you'll feed him for a lifetime. So in giving seeds, then maybe that's a way of actually giving something that's really worthwhile, of weighing up what is really worthwhile for this person to receive. And maybe it is something that will last long term, whereas if it is money, it could go within, well, minutes really, couldn't it? So that was one thought. So what if these were little nuggets of information here that are being given to people who are seen as uneducated? And so education is being provided by the Hierophant, education in spirituality, in morals, in the right way to live, in the right way to behave, to actually be accepted into the higher realms of society. Could these people actually climb in status if they were educated? And I think this is really apparent in another deck, which is Robert M. Place's Alchemical Tarot. So I've got a copy here. I can't remember what version this is. I think it's the 4th. But yeah, let's find the Pentacles. 5. There we go. So here in the 6 of Pentacles in Robert M. Place's deck, Alchemical Tarot, we have someone starting to actually climb with the help of another. And the coin that's being offered here has an owl on it for wisdom. Athena's owl. And so this figure here is giving not money, as we would think in this one, but knowledge. And with that knowledge, they can actually climb to a higher status. Isn't that interesting? And there's another deck that I wanted to show, which is the Bright Future Tarot. That's this one here, Bright Future Tarot, Saskia Lee. I did a big deep dive with this deck. I'll link some of the videos below. But yeah, any of these that I talk about that I've got videos of, I will actually link below so you can actually have a look. And of course they're not in order because I use them. But here our Hierophant is a monk. Our High Priestess is the Oracle, Intuition Unknown. There we go. That's the card I was looking for, by the 6 of Pentacles. Right, let's put these to one side. I think this is quite interesting. So if we look at our High Priestess here, I think this is amazing. It's called the Oracle. And so here we've got ordinary life, and there's a lot going on in that card. There's a bird too scared to fly out to freedom, even though that the windows are wide open. There's lots going on this card, so I won't go into it too much. But here we have the other side of the coin, which is the moon phases. And of course the moon is linked to our Oracle, or our High Priestess. And here we have our Hierophant as divine wisdom. So maybe this is the wisdom that's being handed down into our 6 of Pentacles. Here, for the card in the Bright Future Tarot, we're looking down from above at a running stream, and we have the 6 Pentacles as stepping stones across that stream that have been laid down by one figure here to help the other figure come across. I'm not quite sure which one's which. I think this one's beckoning this one across, but they look like the same figure. So maybe that is the same person encouraging themselves to cross that torrent. And it seems dangerous, doesn't it? It seems really dangerous to make a move from one way of being to another. It's often one of the scariest things, being swept away by the tide. But again, it's giving a helping hand, like we saw in the Alchemical Tarot. So I think my point here is it's not always about money. It's not always about charity. It can be so much more than that. So in this deck, the New Era elements, we also see that helping hand here in the Six of Pentacles, which is this card here, where we see some mountaineers climbing up a mountain and they're tethered to each other by a rope. So they're helping each other to reach the summit. So that's a nice way of expressing success, because success there is obviously teamwork, each needing the other. So instead of this superiority that we see here, we're all working together to achieve an aim. So that's the New Era Elements Tarot. This is the Urban Tarot. I've shown this one before, Robin Scott. And I don't really like the image here for the Six of Pentacles, which is this one here, where we've got someone having their shoes shined and dropping some money. Now, when I first saw this, I thought superiority, you know, lording it above somebody else. And instead of actually nicely giving them payment for the shoe shine, throwing it at them. That's what it seemed to me anyway, which I didn't like. But I read the book, and apparently they're being given a tip for the work. So as well as payment, they're being given a tip. But I must admit, when I saw this card, I thought, oh, it triggered. It was a trigger. It was like, okay, so you think you're better than me and you're just going to throw this money at me for the service I've provided you so that you can look dapper. So I actually didn't like that image. So the superiority we can see here in the Rider-Waite-Smith is a very dominating energy. Us and them. But what happens if the beggars educate themselves and they can't be dominated anymore? What happens to the relationship dynamics then? Surely they change. Surely those scales will tip, the balance of those scales, you know? The person here who seems to be superior to these two, but what if these two have skills, you know, like we see in the Three of Pentacles, that this merchant or this person here doesn't have access to and needs to pay somebody else to actually do the hard labour for them. In educating the masses, what happened? They gave them a voice. They did bring them higher, into a higher level, where they had the education behind them to actually voice an opinion that wasn't based on emotion, but was based on fact. Knowledge is power. So teaching, you know, people to read, to write, gives them access to knowledge and gives them power. You know, we're not just got an ignorant and controllable workforce anymore. We've got people that can think for themselves and actually voice that opinion. My next point is a little bit sad. Well, it's very sad actually. In the past week, I've learnt of 2 deaths, both young men. So I'll just talk about one of them very briefly, just to explain what I'm thinking with this card. The one man that died, he was 45 and he was found dead over last weekend. His brother is in pieces, and his brother is my cousin's husband, and they have a child who is 5 years old, and that child was very close to his uncle, the guy that died. And so here we have to weigh up just how much a 5-year-old boy can handle. Just how much do we explain to him why he can't see his uncle anymore? And I think that's the thing, I'm coming off that subject now, but I think that's the thing about giving knowledge, because how much knowledge can someone take? You know, if you try to teach somebody something all in one go, there's no way they're going to actually retain that information. A lot of it they're going to lose. So if we drip feed the information, there's more likelihood that we can actually retain it, that we can actually build on little bits of information until one day we actually know a lot. Another aspect to this card that I was thinking about was a work-life balance. Again, coming back to these scales here. You know, if we are trying to achieve something and we put in all our effort and energy into one thing, then the rest, other aspects of our life will be in poverty, won't they? Because we can't give that attention to everything if we're giving so much attention to an aspect of life that we want to develop. So we're only given what we can handle. And the person doing the giving has to weigh up how much we're able to receive. Let's talk a little bit about the Tree of Life. This is a 6, so it's aligned to Tippereth, which is all about beauty, harmony. And on our Thoth card here, we've got all the planets circling around the sun, which is that middle bit there. Isn't that beautiful? But it's stable, it's a stable energy, as we can see from the 4 discs in the background. But it's also still moving, which we can see from the red energy of the discs further down. In the middle there we've got the rosy cross, so we've got a cross which is made from a cube opened out, and then a cross. So that's male and female energy there. Let's just get that new Aleister Crowley Tarot, which is this one here, which I have done a walkthrough of. It does show images a lot clearer in this deck. So you can actually see it a lot clearer on this version of the Thoth Success. And there's the cross in the middle there. And you might be able to see that if you folded that cross up in the background, it would actually make a cube. And there we have all the planets circling around that sun glyph. Isn't it lovely? And we've got the moon in Taurus. So our moon is a receptive, reflective energy. And we're all talking, because it's Tippereth and beauty, it's all about our heart space. And actually Taurus is ruled by Venus, so that's a nice tie-in as well with the Empress energy. So we've got some lovely sun, vibrant yellow energy there, making everything in balance. And of course the sun is all about enlightenment as well as radiance. So we're receiving enlightenment from the Hierophant and the High Priestess in different ways, from inside, from outside. The polarities here are quite obvious, I think. So it's all being revealed to us in different ways. But just remember that the moon tells us everything is temporary. Nothing stays still. So these figures won't always be here. You know, if they're given knowledge, if they're given just enough, then they can grow. Then they can become something more, and they can succeed. So these are the seeds of success, in my opinion. I don't think this is money. I think these are the seeds of success because of the alignment to the Thoth meaning of the card. And they both come from Golden Dawn traditions. Let's put this back in place. Let's counteract that one with one from the Zillich Tarot, which is, I've got the tinned version here. And I thought this was lovely. Look at this. Isn't that gorgeous? Success. So it says, propelled by the rays of the red morning sun, a victorious chieftain rides a magnificent carp on the way to the heavenly island of the blessed. This image indicates enjoyment, advantageous circumstances, abundance and success in all of life's circumstances. So let's ride that fish of success. That is lovely. And carrying on with a little bit of humour, this is the Barbieri Tarot, by Pablo Barbieri. The ultimate fantasy tarot melody. Always gives a little bit of a different take on the cards. And for our Six of Pentacles here, we've got Superman. Look at that. We've got the dragon in the background. That's so funny. It says, let's have a look, I'm a superhero. That dragon back there, he's toast. I promise. You know who else is a superhero? Everyone who made any of these incredible gadgets, because really I couldn't fly without them. Isn't that brilliant? So the final card I'm going to show is my beloved Osho Zen, because I think it has the answer for me. So this is the Osho Zen Tarot. This is the pocket version. I do have the big version, but it's just easier to use the pocket version when I'm doing these videos, so I can fit everything on the camera screen. So let us find, here would be rainbows. So we have compromise. And I think that's the answer, compromise. So when we're deciding, or when the powers that be are deciding just how much to give, just how much is needed, they have to come to some sort of a compromise there. They can't give all the knowledge, they can't give everything all in one go, because we're not able to receive it. And so I think compromise between the receptive energy and the revealing energy is a compromise between the two, the coming together of the two, and that's how we'll succeed. That's my thoughts on the Six of Pentacles. I will just quickly go into the crystals, a little book that comes with that deck, the Crystal Magic Tarot, and we'll see what it has to say. And so with the yellow topaz here, it's a very grounding stone actually, and it removes self-doubt and old behaviour patterns. So let's put it there, which are qualities that really would help with success. Isn't it beautiful? I say that about my crystals. Isn't it beautiful? Okay, so the High Priestess, Labradorite, Hierophant, Sodalite, and here we've got the heart and mind. And then for the Six of Coins we have yellow topaz, and this is the image for that one. Very sweet. So let's have a little look what the book says for each of these. Should we do each of these cards? Because I don't know. Normally I just do the relevant card, don't I? So let's just have a quick look. Labradorite. Labradorite strengthens psychic ability and awakens your intuition, helping you connect to spiritual guides and access other realms in yourself and beyond. If it's an inner journey you embark upon, let Labradorite be your guide, shaman and counsel. This beautiful stone with its bright flashes of blue and green like the Aurora Borealis even looks as though it holds the secrets to the mysteries of the universe. Inuit legend says that Labradorite fell from the skies as the frozen fire of the Northern Lights, and it has been known as a magical talisman and powerful protection stone for centuries. If you don't know, I'm reading the Crystal Magic Tarot, by the way, Kerry Ward and Claire Gregory. And for Hierophant and Sodalite, it says a deep blue stone, very similar to lapis lazuli, with calcite inclusions that can make beautiful swirling patterns like a tiny blue planet. Sodalite brings the heart and mind together to achieve mental and emotional clarity, which is the image here, helping you find your truth and your voice. Sodalite is also often associated with idealism and can help you stand up for your beliefs and bring groups or communities together in solidarity and trust for a communal purpose. Doesn't that align well with the Osho card? Use Sodalite to strengthen your heart whenever you feel your faith in humanity is waning. And then for Topaz, it says yellow topaz, and as I say, I have imperial topaz here, gold topaz. But I presume it's the same thing. Zoom in there. And then talk about gold topaz. I'll put that one there. Okay. And it says, Topaz teaches you to do the right thing. Be generous, kind and noble. And yellow topaz particularly brings the kind of optimism and good faith that you just can't help but pass on. If you want to invite good karma back to you, you first need to pay it forward. And yellow topaz's high vibration will serve to remind you to treat others as you yourself would wish to be treated. This vibrant, joyous stone also encourages forgiveness. Very useful when your aim is the higher path. And will in turn attract abundance and success back to you. So it's sort of got a bit of a citrine energy there as well, hasn't it? So those are my thoughts on the Six of Coins in relation to the Hierophant and the High Priestess and the aligned crystals. And I hope you enjoyed that little video. And until next time, folks, thank you so much for watching. Bye, friends. Bye.